So, you know, yes, we do own the brand, but we don't own all the possible revenue streams that flow due to the investment in that brand. You know, I still do believe, though, that you are fundamentally giving away ownership. In NWJ, we own 21 of the 79 stores. And we do have a strategy, as Eric alluded to own more stores. Because we make, I mean, to put it in some context, out of 21 NWJ outlets that we own as company stores, we generate more operating profit than we do out of our 61 franchised Max's outlets. But interestingly, in our NWJ business, we run better margins than our franchisees do. But it astounds me. But the reason for that is because that company grew up owning company-owned stores. I still do think that, yes, although we do own the brand, we could own a lot more. We could own stores as opposed to owning the supply chain, which is what a lot of guys do to earn extra revenue.
They call it the operating owner then, or the operating manager. And so many franchisors will even say when they go to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stores, they will say the person that you're leaving in the store as your manager should have some kind of equity. So you might give away some shareholding to ensure that he is motivated and that he does have an interest in the business.
Fundamentally, if the financial distress, the way we view it, is due to the franchisees doing, we say to him, you've got to fix these things before we can assist you. Because we provide a system. And if you don't want to follow the system and you get into trouble, you know, and I always say to people, we are not, as franchisors, we are not underwriters of businesses. We don't insure against failure. You know, we have, I suppose you could refer to it as a bit of a carrot and a stick approach. You know, if a guy is not able to make his royalty payments and he's overstaffed, we'll say a condition of us giving you some kind of financial assistance is that you fix these points.
Is that the franchisor takes off the top line. But by the same token, when I see a franchisee and they say to me, my franchisor hardly charges me any royalties, I've got such a wonderful franchise, I say to them, please get out of that franchise system now. Because any franchisor who's not taking good royalties from you will not be able to ever grow that brand to a very, very world class, I say, brand. And it won't be strong and won't be able to support you. We want to have a brand that is a pioneer, that's growing, that's strong, that's going to take you into the next 3 years, and a bankrupt franchisor can't do that. So never mind making a franchisee sustainable. If the franchisor is not sustainable, the brand's going to collapse. We all know many franchisors that the system was great. There was nothing wrong with the franchise idea. But if the franchisor hasn't got enough capital to sustain, and then a few franchisees start going bankrupt, the whole system just falls apart.
And what we found when a new franchisee comes in, he can increase sales by up to 20% because he's enthusiastic and he tackles it properly.
You know, you've got to be careful that it's not just a license opportunity, because a license is the bare facts of a franchise. The bare facts of a license is someone develops the intellectual property, the IP, and you rent it to someone else. So that is a license, and franchising is a license. What's only happened in franchising is we've made it more sophisticated by including lots of sexy support around the model.
So if we find what we think is a good partner, we'll pursue looking at if we can put in place a formal relationship. But we don't go to trade shows in Nigeria or into Kenya or Tanzania or whatever the case is.
We would never have gone to Africa if we knew what we knew now, because for the same time and effort to go into a little African country, you could have opened the UK. Franchising in Africa, I wouldn't rush to do it.
But some have done it successfully and are still doing it successfully, and I think maybe the trick is to have a master franchise. So you don't do it from South Africa, you really have a franchisee who owns the territory, and then you are only really checking on standards. You're not really responsible for their financials. Some African countries aren't a great respecter of intellectual property, so that's the other downside. If you're developing something, you've got to make sure that the country respects intellectual property, because that's what franchising is. You're sharing your intellectual property and getting people to pay for it, so there can't be abuse.
Most of food is franchised. All the big marketing budgets come out of food, obviously except for petroleum and the banks and all the rest of it. But there are some huge food budgets with relatively small number of stores. So I think that it does depend on the market that you're in, the level of competition in the market, as to whether you can carry on and sustain yourself. I mean, Moyo doesn't need to franchise, for heaven's sakes.
To run company-owned stores is not easy either. I just want to tell you that in my experience, everybody steals from you. Yeah. There's not a single person, no, I'm serious, there isn't a single person that's ever worked for me that hasn't stolen. Be it a pencil, be it the telephone, and they steal significant amount of money. Now imagine having 120 stores, and tonight you're sitting there hoping that the money was banked, that they didn't steal any money, that they didn't steal any stock, that they didn't abuse your telephone, that they're not driving your bakkie into the township, okay? so let me tell you that it's, and when you franchise, you don't have to worry about that because the franchisee is worrying about that.
We penned it long ago, the green belt of franchising. So where it's close to your base, where you are close to head office, those are the stores that are city bound, and they generally can be non-franchised. They can be your company owned operation because it's close enough for you to go and check on them, very low cost support. The high volume stores close to your location you keep as company owned, or you can joint venture, or you can franchise. But if you want to keep company owned, those are the ones.
We've got a thing, 12 critical success factors, and Carlo made the point, not every business is franchisable. If you've got a very, very low gross margin, it's difficult to franchise unless you've got huge volumes because there's not enough leeway to pay a royalty. Or if the skills are hard to transfer, like in pharmacy today, it's very difficult to get pharmacists.
And I think one of the reasons that I don't think the brand didn't fail, I think, and Terry, you can help me here, I think it was lack of equity of the international partner in a way.
When PepsiCo first tried to come back to South Africa,
yes.
After the elections in '94,
yes.
And at some point PepsiCo was losing $5 million, if I'm not mistaken, when, again, they'd given up too much equity. The distribution was outsourced. The plant was second-hand, the management was not competent, and the whole thing collapsed.
I don't know what Eric and Carlo think. I think that in Subway we have 46 million people living in South Africa, but sadly we don't have a large amount of people that can earn a decent income and can't afford takeaway food. And the Subway product is quite expensive. In America, everyone travels by foot. The most sophisticated lawyer doing his MBA or whatever will happily go to work wearing trainers and walk to the station, etc. Generally in South Africa, the lower income people are the ones that have got the high foot traffic. And so when they're passing a Subway, the product is just too expensive, and for that product they'd rather buy 2 pies and a Coke. When an international franchisor looks at South Africa, ooh, 46 million people, let's go and expand. But unless you're getting to 50 stores, you aren't going to, you need volume in franchising. Franchising is a volume marketing strategy. You need lots of customers for the franchisee to make money, and lots of franchisees for the franchisor to make money.
But it's just a system of doing it properly. The Big Mac, which is cutting that burger in twice, was a franchisee having that for lunch. So franchisees, one, you can be innovative, but you just got to do it in a proper process, not just introduce it yourself. You take it to head office, and they will reward you for doing that.
I was a franchisee, and I was lucky and unlucky enough to be in a system that was very new at the time. I was, I think, the 12th Debonair's franchisee. Pick your franchisor correctly. You know, we have forums, innovation forums that we run with our franchisees and our suppliers. I don't think that being a franchisee stifles your innovation at all. If anything, it maybe makes you more disciplined about how you think. And I think that's when a franchise system almost works really well, when you let your good franchisees provide input into how to improve your systems.
Even McDonald's will brainwash their franchisees in a good way to believe that they can innovate at any time, as long as they do it, as Eric said, through the forum. But even if it wasn't innovative, surely it's still great for the person who never has innovative ideas or never believes in themselves to go and grow a concept from homegrown.
Make no mistake, being in a franchise is not easy. Do not think that just because a franchisor gives you an operations manual and he gives you 3 weeks upfront training and a guy goes to your store, it makes it easy. There are challenges every single day. Try go to 2 or 3 or 4 stores for a challenge. The last thing on your head is innovation, I guarantee you. You're happy for the franchisor to give you innovation. He's tested it somewhere else, preferably, not in your store. That when he brings it to you, it actually works. And it's already profitable when he brings it to you. So, I mean, make no mistake, going into a franchise is not a recipe for easy business. There is enough challenges to be had. There really, really are.
I want to thank you, all of you, for those great insight. Guys, if you have burning questions that you didn't get to ask, the panelists are still going to be around for a few more minutes, so you can scroll down and ask your question particularly. But with that, before we close, join me in thanking the panelists for a really insightful session. Thank you.